Outdoors, pH Guide by Lake Systems, Man's Bait Company, Blakemore Lures, Overcast, Motor Guide, Water Spider, Head and Lures, Pro Formula, Strike King, Little Stinker Bait Company, True Turn Hooks, Kangaroo Shoes, and Nautical Interiors.
Well, it's late in the day and the sun's getting low. Caught me a big one, but I let it go. I sure had fun just watching him stretch my line. I made me a lifetime memory out here fishing Jimmy Houston and me. Hey, Jimmy, I think we'll have to go again sometime.
Till next time, good fishing from all of us at Jimmy Houston Outdoors.
Hi, I'm Ned Smith.
And I'm Reed Peterson, again welcoming you to Arizona Outdoors. Ned and I would like to thank you for allowing us into your home each week with a touch of the outdoor world. We would sincerely like to apologize for any inconvenience our change of showtime has caused. You have my solemn oath that neither of us were aware of any time change until after our show last week. The change has become necessary with the expansion of Wednesday outdoor night to 2 full hours. We sincerely hope the new time change will prove beneficial for all concerned. Ned, how about introducing our guest for that?
We've got a super star tonight again. We've got Floyd Preas back with us again. Floyd, welcome back to the show once again.
Well, proud to be here.
We're glad to have you.
You bet. We've got something a little bit different this week, folks. We're gonna go on an airboat adventure. A lot of people's never ever heard of an airboat. Floyd, why did you get an airboat?
Well, I ran one when I was a kid, and I always kind of liked one. And we got some water in Arizona that's pretty shallow, and you can't, in other words, it's wet, and that's about it. And that's about the only way you can get there is with an airboat, unless you want to walk.
You born in Florida or something?
No.
I thought the airboats were all on the Everglades.
No, there's a lot of them used to be in Louisiana. They used to ruin moonshine with them, and of course I was too young for that, but I probably would have if I'd
Your pro bass business isn't getting on a little on the shaky side. You're not moonshining or anything up here on the lakes.
I'm afraid this hot weather out here would blow the corks off the bottles.
Yeah, that's good. Floyd, you've been back in Tennessee, haven't you? Just got back?
Yes, sir. I went back there. Was going to do a TV show back there, and the weather wouldn't cooperate. We caught a lot of nice smallmouth. I lost some good fish, and of course I can't say on the air what I said when they got loose, but I turned some 5 and 6 pound largemouth loose quite frequently. Biggest one we caught was 5'11", but I didn't catch it.
Boy, that's a nice smallmouth.
We turned a lot of loose 3.5 and 4 pound fish, but.
Floyd, you're famous for smallmouth here in Arizona. Your name is synonymous with smallmouth fishing. What's the biggest you've personally caught here in Arizona?
4 pounds, 11 ounces.
And that's out of Apache?
That's out of Apache.
That's your favorite lake for smallmouth, isn't it?
Well, it's probably got more fish in it and they're a little easier to catch.
Well, that's good. Well, there's no better person to have than Floyd when you're going out to Apache Lake, Reed.
Well, that's what you've been telling me for years. If you want to catch fish, you call Floyd and go with him.
Well, sometimes they don't work, though.
Excuse me, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You're out at Mesa Marine right now, if
Yes,
people
sir.
want to see you.
I've been out there about 3.5 months now, a little closer to the house than I was Florida Drive.
Yeah, you live in Apache Junction, and but Floyd's just a hop and skip away from Canyon Lake and Apache, so I don't blame you for wanting to be out in that area.
Yeah. Well, I don't need the airboat there, though. That's why we took it up on the river up there.
Well, this is going to be fun, to take a look at this airboat in a little bit when we bring up our tape. But, give us a little background on these airboats.
Oh, they've been around for years. The oil company used them in Louisiana and all over the country, matter of fact. There's several airboats in Arizona right now, but the mining company has them.
Nice.
They run them over their slag pits because these hovercrafts, the guys would fall out. And you fall out in that slag, it's kind of hard to swim. And they are quite a few out here. Now, whether they in use or not, I couldn't tell you. But I know there's 4 Panther boats out here, and they got 454 Chevys in them with 4 barrels on them, and they're 18 feet long.
18. And yours has a V8 Chevy engine in
it's
it?
350 with a 4-barrel and about 10-to-1 or 11-to-1 pistons in it. I'm not much of a mechanic, but with a 6-foot prop, and it takes a lot of horsepower to pull that much prop.
And you was telling me when we were doing the film, a lot of them have aircraft engines in them.
Yes, sir. I've sold the one you'll see in the film, and I'm going to order another boat, but it's going to have an aircraft engine in it because it's 250 pounds lighter.
I see.
So that takes care of part of my weight. I can carry a little more weight, and it'll probably be a little smaller boat.
Well, this is something relatively new to Arizona, but after watching you on this show, there might be a big demand for airboats in this country.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to have. I'd like to have a camera on Ned the first time we went over some rocks. And
That's for sure. I was sure hanging on. You know, right at the beginning of our show, on our little opening, we show the airboat. You know, I liked it so well, we put it right in our opening.
Well, everybody's been talking about it. Hey, have you seen the show with the airboat? And I says, no, I hadn't. I don't. I just got where I can get cable where I'm at, and I'll promise you I'll get it so I can watch your other shows.
Well, so they don't have the cable right out in Apache Junction, store cable?
They just started it. I understand that we can get it there as of about a week ago. Now, this is what I've heard. I've got to check into it and make a phone call and find out.
Okay. Well, there you are, folks. You guys start yelling for cable out there. You tell your friends because we're going to be available out in your area. So, you know, with that, boy.
Well, we can get the other, what is it, ESPN and several of the others, and I understand this is with it. So if that's so, we'll have it.
Well, that's good. I hope so.
Well, I hope so too. We'd like to expand this thing. We think that the sportsmen, this whole valley, have just literally been starved for outdoor shows and things, and I don't know what the problem has been. But we're trying our best to bring it to them now.
You're right. You're right there. Being in the business I'm in and around the public, to meet the public like we do, they're starving for information. And I think the papers, y'all allowed to print a little more and get by with a little more printing, more to detail than some of our other papers, and their other papers are just short on information as far as I'm concerned. Nothing against the writers. I think it's the people that owns the papers kind of holding them back, and I'm not calling any names, but I think the paper you have now, the one y'all write for, is great. And you give them more up-to-date information and more detail.
Okay, well, folks, in just a second we're going to come back, but right now let's take a short break with a commercial.
I've got enough on my mind without worrying about tires.
We think you've got enough on your mind without worrying about tires. Once you're on Big O tires, they can't cost you another penny. Not for service, repair, or replacement. Because as long as you have legal tread, we'll repair them or replace them free. Even road hazards. We can't solve all your problems, but isn't it nice to have one less to worry about? Once you buy Big O tires, there's nothing left to buy.
You know, we've been talking a lot about this tape that we're going to show in just a minute. That's fine. You know, Reed touched on what happened as far as our time change tonight, and this show will be seen again. But, you know, Floyd, just for the sportsman's interest out here and the fishermen, we've got Rayo Breckenridge now on tonight. We've got Bill Dance Outdoors. We've got Jimmy Houston. We've got our show. I think that the whole valley ought to be, you know, yelling for these type of shows to go across.
I know they will be, because even I enjoy them, and I watch other shows every chance I get. But like I said, we didn't have cable out there, so I couldn't watch them. And I was going so far as buy a satellite dish so I could watch the shows, but it looked like I won't have to now.
Well, we're trying to make these shows better, just like Reed said earlier, and with this other format, bringing you these other shows, we're on our way. We're going to have some others too.
We're pushing this thing with the idea. We think that we need to show more and more how to do it type things, and that's what we're really pushing for with our new format.
Yes, sir. And the people want to know, and they'll pay nearly any cost to find out how to catch. I don't care if it's a catfish or bass or crappie or whatever, and they'll pay nearly to learn. And if they can learn in watching the television in their homes, they learn other things by watching televisions and updates on everything. And so why not if it's fishing or hunting and I think it's great. The only thing it is, y'all need a little longer show, I think.
Well, sometimes we get a little cramped for time, but we really want to bring to the sportsmen what they want. And that's why we continually put out the charge of, they have something they want us to show, just write in and tell us, and we'll do our best to put it on.
Well, you got as good good a vehicle as ever. Right there, the telephone. If they'll call and they can let you know over the phone, during the show.
Yeah, they sure can.
That's right.
Tonight we'll have a few phone-ins. We're hoping they'll be with us at 7:30 on our new time. But we're getting ready right now to go to this tape. We're just a few seconds away, and so I think without much further, Reed, what do you think? We ought to take a look at it?
Well, I think they got just a couple of seconds. I might throw in something. I told you they had these little old night tournaments up there on Thursday night, sponsored by a couple of the local sporting goods.
Right.
And last week on Saguaro, they caught an 8-pound, 12-ounce bass on that deal.
Yeah, and the guys has a couple of 6-pounders, and they thought they had it won.
There's going to be another tournament, by the way, tomorrow night, folks, if you want to get up there and fish it. Let's
Yeah,
go to
it's time
that
to go
tape
to a
right
tape.
now.
Let's go.
Okay, let's roll it. Fire this thing up. Let's go.
I'm ready. That kind of working.
Sure does.
What are we going to go after, Floyd?
We'll try to catch some.
Those big old flatheads?
I'm going to let you guide me up there.
Well, that's good, eh? We'll see how this machine works.
We're going to find out real quick.
And see if we can catch that catfish. The river's come down since yesterday.
It looks like it has.
That might even give us a better chance. It might make them more hungry. Find the food better.
You think we're going to find the flatheads here in Florida or channel?
Yeah, depends on how deep that hole is.
That water dog. I'm gonna fish with the water dog and then go with the worm a little bit.
Yeah, see what I'm going to do a little later. I'm going to fix up, put 2 hooks on that.
Floyd, why have you got your slip sinker set up that way?
Well, catfish sometime is a little a little sensitive to picking up any weight or feel anything heavy above the bait that they're taking. I always put a little split shot here and a slip sinker above it, and it'll only come down that far against it. Then with a hook in the excess here, it'll let the bait float around if you lose a live bait or anything, and they'll pick it up a lot quicker, and they don't feel a dead weight on it, and they won't drop it so quick. I'm gonna put me a worm on here now and see if we can't catch one of them catfish out there. Make a couple loops in there, leave it out for the head to work around so you have the action and the fish can see it.
Hold that worm up there.
Right there.
One of these water dogs, see if I can. My channel cat might hit it. Flathead likes live bait, don't they? They won't hardly take a dead bait.
Yeah, they like it. I think that deeper hole, Ken, runs right into the field where this water's turning and right out from there. The water dropping changed. Well, I got him, but I think he's just a small channel cat. He ain't no flathead. He's just a small one. Enough to make skillet stink, though.
Oh, that'd be a good eating fish.
He'll do, but I'd like to have one a little bit bigger. That's about my size.
Fish, aren't they?
Yeah, that's about my size. I don't generally catch them much bigger than that. Boy, wait till my bass fishing buddy sees this, I'll be in trouble. Boy, they eat that thing, I'll tell you.
They're not going for these
One of the things people handle them catfish, they'll take their fingers, put behind there in that top fin, they'll never get hurt. But if they just reach and grab them, they kind of smarts. You know, Ken, I don't think we done that good here. We're on a couple of small ones. I think we ought to go up a little further. See if we can find a different hole.
Yeah, if we can get up and find a couple of deep holes, Flord, we ought to be able to get some.
Or if we can get off of this sandbar.
Yeah. Well, I'll push us off.
Well, we can push it, I guess. Just drag our fish in there.
About 6 foot, Flord.
I tell you what.
I'm not touching bottom here.
That'd be at the spot. I'm gonna put us on this sandbar right up here. I think we might get you.
I think that's bottom.
Good. That's what we looking for. Big tail cat in here.
Have a figure.
We got about a lot deeper hole right here with 15 before. There might be some flatheads in this one.
I mean, there's parts of that out there. It's a good 7 foot.
You got a worm on? You got a water dog?
I got a water dog.
What do you got on there, Floyd?
I'm a little channel cat. It's a channel cat. I guess fishermen can't be choosers all the time. Well, I got me another hand-sized catfish. I'm not going to eat tonight, but I am. What is that, Uncle Josh?
Uncle Josh dip bait.
Uncle Josh dip bait. I'll tell you one thing. Them catfish love that, whatever it is. When it hooks them, it hooks them. Tear the treble hook up in their mouth. I'll tell you one thing, I fish for catfish with a lot of things, but stink bait, orange-colored worms, and it is different. This folks gonna have to eat that, guys. Get him on the stringer, so he'll live, die. We'll get ready for him too. Too used to them bass boats. Sure got better seats in the bass boat too.
Let's face it, nobody likes to buy tires. For some, it's a frightening experience. For others, it's time-consuming. And there are those who end up paying just too much.
But at Big O Tires, we do it better. Big O Tires' professionally trained specialists will handle all of your tire needs. And with Big O Tires Express Lane service, most cars are in and out in 20 minutes or less. Get the best product for the best price. Get that Big O feeling of confidence.
You know, Floyd, that's kind of unique out here in this desert country. How shallow water will that airboat go through?
As long as it's wet. It doesn't draw, really, a boat like that probably draw 2 or 3 inches of water. Like if you see the boulders and the water's running over them, if there's water over the top of that boulder, if you on the plane, it'll go over that boulder. Even if you hit the bottom of the boat, it isn't going to hurt, because that was 1/4 inch plate, so, or aluminum, so it doesn't hurt the boat as long as you know how to handle the boat. Like the sandbars, and like you see where we're standing in the water, you can drive right through that.
For heaven's sake.
And they have one now that's out that has a Teflon bottom, and you can set it on gravel or the pavement and actually drive the boat.
It really works good.
I wouldn't want to be the guy behind it if they had it on gravel, but
You know, in retrospect, a little bit, we have some people maybe call in, but we was talking about, you know, catfish, and I want to show a rod here that'll handle these channel catfish here. This is a custom rod made out of Texas by A.C. Starling, and it's a custom catfishing rod for channel cats, and it has a Zebco 888 reel on it. This is a good combination for the channels. It wouldn't be a good one for flatheads because they'd tear it up real quick.
Well, if they caught a big one, they would.
Yeah.
And tear it up. Yes.
But you know, Floyd, in honesty, to tell the people that was watching our show a little bit about these channel cats, we shot this film about October, and really the big channels weren't up in the river then, the flatheads weren't up in that area. They're out in the lake in the middle of the winter.
Most of them moved out to deeper water, and you always have the stragglers, and you always have that one that don't know the lake's down there, you know. But most of the time in later part of the year, in October, November, and December, the fish does move out into deeper water. They don't quit feeding.
Yeah.
They just move out in the deeper water, and they're a little more dormant in the winter months. Like now, I was at San Carlos yesterday, and I was there Sunday, and I caught catfish both days on artificial worms. So when they move up into shallow water to spawn, you can catch them on anything.
Floyd, you got some people want to talk to you. Let's go to one of our calls right off the bat here. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, could you tell me what river he was at on that?
We was on the Salt River.
On the Salt River. Where is a good place, this time of year, where is the best place that you find to go bass fishing?
Well, right now, about any of the lakes, but I've been to San Carlos the last couple of days, so, and it's very good up there.
Could you tell me, do you recommend the Hummingbird as far as a depth finder?
Hummingbird is there's a lot of good depth finders out there. It just depends on the person you talk to, or what they pushing at that time. But Humminbird is a good depth finder, yes.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, let's go to
Taking
another.
up.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, I enjoy the heck out of your program. It's really something to see. When you're fishing there on the river, do you run that bait along the bottom, or do you try to keep it off of the bottom?
I try to keep the bait off of the bottom and a little bit. And if you notice the channel cat's eyes, if you notice their eyes are kind of on top of their head, so they do look up a lot. So you might want to raise that bait off the bottom a little bit. And that's why, if you noticed in the show, I had the slip sinker about a foot or maybe 2 foot above the little split shot that I had, so the bait will be freely.
Yeah, I really, I was watching that. I really enjoy this program a lot. You ought to save the time that you're on the air there one more time there.
Well, we're on live right now, and we're going to re-show the show again at 8:30 tonight. So that's just for tonight.
From now on, it will be 7:30.
From now on.
Good show.
Thank you. Let's take another one. Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing? I enjoy your program also, and I just kind of curious about the different baits they use this type of year. What would be the best kind to use as far as catfish?
Well, that Uncle Josh was awful good, wasn't it?
Is that what that was?
That was an Uncle Josh cheese blood bait combination. It's called Mr. Catfish in the stores. And make sure you get the one with the cheese and the blood mixed together. And they have a, if you noticed on that one channel cat that we shot, it has a little rubber and a treble hook on it, and you kind of dip it in, and they say get a stick. Don't use your finger because it stinks. That was good.
You said that would be like a blood type material, and that does draw the catfish in.
You bet. Also, if we had the address up on the phone on that custom rod, the fellow there can tell you about Bob's chicken blood, and boy, that's a real good bait to use for channel cats.
Okay, I appreciate you helping me out there. Thank you.
You bet.
Want another?
Sure. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello, I wanted to ask Floyd if he had any idea where the catfish might be this time of year up in Bartlett Lake.
Well, if I was going to be catfishing in Bartlett right now, you know where the Yellow Cliffs are?
What part of the lake is it?
Well, you're going up the lake towards Horseshoe.
Okay.
Any place, well, I'd be up where the water runs in. Those fish will move up the lake, and they'll spawn in. The flatheads also like to move in water.
Uh-huh.
They love to move in water, and they'll move up into that to spawn, and that's a good area to catch them.
Okay. And just want to say that I really appreciate the program, and you guys are doing a great job. I hope you continue.
Thank you.
Well, we're hoping that you'll let us know what you want to see. We think we've got a good show going. We hope to have a lot more for you.
Yeah, I think the idea about demonstrating how you catch them and even how you hook up the line is a great idea.
Good.
Thank you.
You bet. Let's take another one. Hello, you're on the air.
Oh yeah, what part of the river were you on?
Well, that was just above Schoolhouse Point, right on up to the diversion dam, wasn't it, Floyd?
Yeah, we took the boat, went all the way from Schoolhouse Point to the diversion dam. We caught fish all the way up. Even at the diversion dam, we caught several catfish.
Yeah, is it good bass fishing out of the airboat?
Yes, I've had it at Picacho and some of the other lakes. I've even had it on Apache, but you don't need it up there. But Picacho and some of the other reservoirs, it does help to have the airboat, and especially the rivers. And all of our rivers have bass in it, especially the Verde. It's got large and smallmouth bass in it.
Okay, thanks. I want to say I love this show.
Good.
Keep doing what you're doing. It's great.
Well, just
what we need for a long time.
Tell all your friends to sign up for cable.
They already have it, and they all watch it too.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, you're on the air.
Could you tell me what the most effective lure is for a smallmouth bass on Apache?
Boy, Floyd, you got it.
Well, I tell you what, this time of year it's a little tough. I'd still say the crankbait, or there's a hair jig, and if you use a hair jig and put I believe it's a U2 eel on the back of it, it's a trailer you'd want to use, and don't necessarily take that and just throw it out there and bounce it on the bottom like a jig. You'd want to take and reel it real slow. Let it go to the bottom and reel it very slow. And that's been pretty effective. That's something new we've been trying. So far it's worked pretty good.
Could you tell me where on Apache Lake?
Well, one of the better areas, you know where Water Dog is?
No.
Okay, that's a military installation up there where they have their R&R. And if you go across from that, there's a lot of sandy beaches over there, or sandy shore. and you can catch them off of the drop-offs over there.
Is that about a mile above the marina?
It'd be about a mile towards Roosevelt, on the left-hand side going towards Roosevelt.
Out of curiosity, are you calling from Mesa?
Yeah.
Why don't you go out and visit Floyd out at Mesa Marine out by Bush Highway, and he'd be glad to visit with you in person. He can even take a map and show you.
Bring me a map and I'll be glad to mark it for you, and I'll show you some of the lures that we catch the fish on.
Okay, thanks.
Call out there and make sure he's there, though, because he goes fishing a lot.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, I'm wondering, I'm a weekend fisherman, and I wondered if, what best pound test line to use for bass fishing.
For bass fishing, I use anywhere from 4 pound. Normally I use 6 and 8, but been to San Carlos here lately in that brush. I've been using 10 and 12. It kind of feels like a well rope, but I'll tell you what, you need it.
Would that vary with the lure that whatever you're doing?
That'll vary with the clarity of the water. If I'm in open water, I use lighter line, and I feel the lure has better action. But if I'm in the heavy brush, like we're catching a fish right outside of the brush, and a 4 or 5 pound fish can get back in that brush on you if you don't have the power to pull him out. So
they're giving us a wrap up here, Floyd. We're only about 30 seconds away from closing. If you'll hold on the line, we'll continue to talk with you and those that are waiting. Real quick, just as a follow-up, and Floyd, thanks for being here with us, by the way.
Enjoyed it.
Tempe Marine's going to have a tournament this weekend at Alamo Lake, and it's going to be Saturday and Sunday, and anybody that would like to go and fish this tournament should call Tempe Marine at 894-2951 for more information. And it looks like that's it, folks.
We really appreciate being with you. Good luck, good fishing, good hunting.
Mortgage payment, car payment, food, miscellaneous expenses, and don't forget lunch money. Now you're out of cash, but you need tires fast. What do you do?
Get a Big O Tires credit card. With a Big O Tires credit card, you can buy your tires today and pay for them later. Just come in and fill out an application. It only takes about 30 minutes to process. The Big O Tires credit card. It gives you that Big O feeling of confidence.
Next time, good fishing from all of us at Jimmy Houston Outdoors.
Seed and weed killer. Walgreens has everything you need.
Hi, I'm Ned Smith from Arizona Outdoors.
And I'm Reed Peterson, welcoming you once again to Arizona Outdoors. Thanks for allowing us into your home. For the last month and a half, our show was concentrated on fishing. Tonight, we're going to leave the lakes and the streams and return to the field. Ned, can you introduce our special guest this evening?
You bet, Reed. We have a real interesting guest tonight. We have Jim Fiedler. He's president of the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society. He's a sportsman. He's also the investigator for the Arizona Game and Fish Region 6, which takes in all of central Arizona. And Reed, you've got a whole list of credentials besides that on Jim.
Well, Jim, we're really happy to have you here tonight because, you know, I had the opportunity as an outdoor writer to say a few things about you a couple of months ago, and it was a real pleasure to do so because you're one real bright and shining light on this outdoor scene.
Thank you, Reed.
Yep, Jim, you and I go back a long ways. We worked in the game department together many years ago, and looks like you're just staying right in there. I left, but you stayed.
Yeah, well, what can I say about that?
Yeah. Anyway, Jim, we're happy to have you here, and we're going to talk bighorn sheep tonight to our audience. Jim, basically, you've stepped into the reins of running this organization, plus your duties in the Game and Fish Department. Tell us a little bit what the Sheep Society is doing right now.
Well, the Sheep Society originally was started in 1967 with basically just a group of rock potters, and you ought to know because you were one of the charter members and also one of the past presidents. I think we were president, what, 75? 75.
Yeah.
And I know when I started, I believe, in '76 and was introduced to the Sheep Society by you, Ned. And I believe then we had an annual income of approximately $5,000. Last year, our not net income, but gross income was $253,000 that we had raised for the sheep in Arizona. And we're really happy to do that. Our goals are pretty singleness of purpose, like Ducks Unlimited, only we're for the sheep, and we don't get involved with other, you know.
Well, let me throw a little plug in for you there, Jim. You know, there are many, many strong preservationist groups around the country. And fortunately for the sportsmen of Arizona, the Bighorn Sheep Society is kind of a shining light among them all, because even these preservationists seemingly can't find any fault with the Desert Bighorn Sheep Society. It really blows their mind that here you have a group of sportsmen, many of which have already killed their once-in-a-lifetime sheep, that are out there packing cement into bag things, looking out for the welfare of the sheep. I think it's super, and it's a great thing for the organization, and I know it's a great thing for the sportsmen of Arizona.
No, I can't say, but I agree with it.
You know, boy, I'm just amazed at the amount of money that you've raised here in this last year. You know, you raffled off a ticket or a chance for a bighorn. What did you receive on that raffle last year, Jim?
Okay, we had two permits last year, Ned. We had one was a raffle, which we ended up getting $82,000 by the time we got our interest on the money. We also auctioned off another permit, and we received $64,000 from that. Between the two of them, with the interest and everything, we ended up with $155,000 that we turned over to Game and Fish for sheep in the state. We also had a fundraising dinner in January of last year. We netted $32,000 on that in one night. And this year, we again had a fundraiser. We netted $38,000 this year.
Boy.
And that money is going to be used for water hole development and stuff for wildlife in the western part of the state, predominantly the western part.
Well, you know, we're going to go to a commercial here in just a few seconds. And when we come back from the commercial, maybe we can talk a little bit how you're spending this money.
Great. Sounds good.
So if we're ready for that commercial, we'll just go to it right now and take a look at one of our good sponsors here on our show.
Hi, Reed Peterson here. If there's one thing I hate to have on a trip, it's trouble with my tires. About a year ago, I bought a set of Big O tires, as you can see here. And without question, they're the best set of tires I've ever owned, and I've bought quite a few over the years. I got top quality at a fair price, and you can too. Visit my friends at Big O Tires in Mesa, 420 East Main, 1060 South Alma School Road, and 100 South Power. Lousy me with a commercial like that, Ned. How can we
You look good, Reed. Anyway, Jim, why don't you give a little rundown to the people what you've done with this $200,000?
Sure. Well, in 1984, we funded, I say we, the sportsmen of Arizona, because all you guys that bought raffle tickets and everything for that sheep permit helped us. We transplanted 107 desert bighorn sheep into either historic ranges where they were extirpated over the years, or we have supplemental transplanted sheep. 53 of those sheep came from Region 3, Game Fish Region 3, which is in the Kingman area, which is an Nelsonized subspecies of desert bighorn. 37 of those went into Preas Canyon, 5 went to Grand Wash Cliffs,
10 were traded to the state of Colorado in exchange for 100 pronghorn antelope, which the Game and Fish Department reintroduced near Fredonia, Arizona. And then they also had one 3-year-old ram went to Hendrick Canyon in the Virgin Mountains as a supplement to one of the rams that had died there. In Region 4 out of Yuma, the Mexicana subspecies, we transplanted 54 of those, 16 sheep within 2 releases into the Eagle Tail Mountains, 8 to Redfield Canyon, and 30 went to Coffee Flats and the Superstitions.
Well, you've been busy.
Brought sheep back into the main complex of Superstition Mountains outside of Horse Mesa. We did a sheep transplant in Horse Mesa last year.
Well, without this money, you couldn't even started to do any of this.
Well, those transplants cost $63,000 that the sportsmen in this state put up. We also bought a transport trailer for Game and Fish. The one they had was pretty rickety. In fact, it overturned bringing some antelope back a couple years ago. And now we have a new trailer. It was $11,000. We sponsored follow-up monitoring of the herds in the Eagle Tails, which cost us $10,000 a year. That's a 3-year ongoing study. We gave the department $26,000 for helicopter time to monitor the herds that we've already transplanted. And then just recently we bought a new gas jackhammer. It's called a Pine Jar from Sweden for $3,250 that we use in our waterhole projects.
Well, Jim, what we're going to do right now, just before this tape rolls, these water holes, let's talk just quickly. This is what cements the society together that we're going to be viewing in the next few seconds. It's what started the society, going out and building water holes, and let's run the tape now, and then when we come back from it, we'll talk about it a little bit. All right.
So in the Little Horn Mountains, the Arizona Game and Fish Department and the Bureau of Land Management unite with members of the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society and the Foundation for North American Wild Sheep to construct a water hole to benefit the desert bighorn. Sheep Society members are seasoned veterans in the area of waterhole development. Since their beginnings in 1968, the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society has existed for the welfare of Arizona's desert bighorns. They've been involved in over 100 waterhole projects. The significance of this project is explained by Arizona Game and Fish Department Development Supervisor Don Belknap.
This project, we hope, will make a transient sheep herd more resident. That's basically what we're trying to do, is expand the sheep range, the perennial range, as we could refer to it.
Upon arrival at the base camp, the labor begins. Equipment, supplies, and manpower are prepared for a helicopter ride to the construction site. But the same winter storms that will eventually make this project work are now a major obstacle. Safety comes first, so the helicopter airlifts for this day grind to a halt. But up on the mountain, preparations continue for the arrival of supplies and labor. Charter member of the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society and foundation member Dean Bowden explains the work to be done.
What we have here is a potential waterhole development site it's on the north side of the Little Horn Mountains, and it's one of the only areas on this mountain range where a site could be developed. And up here to my left is the solid rock watershed, and today, of course, it doesn't look to me like we ever need any water, but the good thing about this is we're going to build a dam right in this area right here that will catch water such as this rain that we have today. And the dam will eventually back up 25,000 gallons of water, which will last for up to 2 years without rain.
Workers either walked to the site or were flown up in the turbine-powered helicopter of Foundation and Society member Dan Nasca. Work begins. Down at the base camp, supplies and equipment were loaded into helicopter slings and airlifted to the waterhole project site. As the supplies come in, they're organized so that they're out of the way until they're needed. Level ground is at a premium up here. As the dam site is prepared, the morning silence is broken by the gasoline-powered pine jar drill. The rebar framework for the retention dam is gradually woven. Other society and foundation members form a giant line, and in bucket brigade fashion, they toss the primary ingredients for the masonry retention dam up to the dam site.
Some of those are heavier than they look. Yeah.
Their labor may not seem as glamorous as the drilling and cement work, but there's a great deal of pride in getting the right size and kind of rock up to the construction site. The rock haulers' teamwork and cooperation make a project of this magnitude look simple and easy. It is anything but that. As the day progresses, the canyon becomes partially barricaded by the masonry holding structure. Work is periodically interrupted by an occasional weather outburst, but even then, the interruptions are brief. The work continues until sundown, when the crew returns to camp for dinner and some well-deserved sleep. The next morning starts much the same as the one before. During the night, there have been some new arrivals, and these members show considerably more enthusiasm than the workers who had already put a day of hard labor under their belts. Again, the rock lines form as the cement mixing crews and masons work feverishly to complete the massive project in one weekend. Everyone pitches in. The once quiet desert canyon is bursting with the sounds of heavy construction. But it's a temporary interruption, an interruption of noise that will hopefully someday be replaced by the sound of cracking ram horns. Afternoon shadows are growing long. It's time to return to camp. But as the crew awaits the next helicopter flight, a rainbow signals an omen for the success of this project. After dinner, around the campfire, the conversation reflects a genuine concern for wildlife. And for all those who share a campfire, this is a time for reflection. Not only on the day's work, but for the cause that united them here in the Arizona desert. As the night grows older, fireside conversation dwindles until the camp is silent. Again, the work starts. The rock lines search for new building materials. The morning silence is broken by the growl of the cement mixer. Now the rock line passes rocks to fill the hog wire basket that will eventually act as a filter for debris carried down the canyon by floodwaters. The riprap dam will keep this water hole from filling up with silt and debris. The masonry work nears completion, and the rock line passes just enough rock to complete the riprap dam. When the drag wire basket is full, it's wired shut. The bowl of the catchment is cleaned and then coated with sealant to prevent possible leakage. Further down the mountain, 2 fiberglass tanks hold water piped down from a smaller retention dam. A float valve will keep a small fiberglass tank full even if the larger retention dam temporarily dries up. Water streams down the canyon. The water hole has filled. Seaver's tank now has enough water to provide a life-sustaining supply for the upcoming year. Rains out here are infrequent, and it could be a year or more before water again runs down the rocky canyon to Seaver's tank. How important are projects like this? Well, that depends on your perspective. For the Desert Bighorn, projects like this may be as important as survival.
When it's time for you to buy tires, you owe it to yourself to stop in at Big O Tires. The warranty on Big O tires is absolutely the best around. All Big O brand tires are fully warranted, no prorating, and they include road hazards, even for four-wheel drive tires. Go see my friends at Big O Tires in Mesa, 1060 South Alma School Road, 420 East Main Street, 100 South Power Road. Big O Tires, top quality, fair prices, and a great warranty.
Well, Jim, all I can say is it sure looks better than when I was president. Boy, I guarantee you, you know, the choppers are there and all this cement that you're carrying. Things have really expanded since the days that we had to, you know, backpack everything on our backs up the mountain.
You think that helicopter beats carrying that cement, 90-pound pack of cement on your back, huh?
It does. How many packs of cement did you take on this water hole project with chopper up there?
Okay, this tank was called Jeff Seaver's pothole, and it had 100 bags of cement with 94-pound bags and 300 bags of 90 pounds of sand. So it was 400 bags. There was no way you'd haul that up there, plus it was 3 miles from the nearest road to that. So we're building them further back in. We're building more elaborate ones, and this project was entirely funded by the Foundation for North American Wild Sheep, which have memberships all over the world.
Mm-hmm. And how many tanks has the Sheep Society done now in this length of time?
I believe we have done 82 or 83 tanks. We've been on well over 100 projects, where many of those we go back into them to repair them if they leak or empty them out of sand or things like that.
Well, you know, Jim, I'd just like to throw in a little old deal here, just in behalf of the sportsmen. You know, I really would like to thank the Bighorn Sheep Society. I guess you ought to include the Game and Fish Department and the Commission for allowing all of these captures and transplants that all work together for really helping the sportsmen of Arizona and, of course, our sheep herd.
Sure, the Game and Fish Department, you know, if it wasn't for the Game and Fish Commission approving those 2 permits, we probably would not have transplanted 107 sheep last year. Plus, we're looking between 80 and 90 sheep transplanted this year, 20 for Black Mountain near Alamo Lake, another 20 near Lion Mountain back in the Matazels, which hasn't had sheep in a while, and 20 plus the Hat Canyon up on the Arizona Strip. So
it takes money to
it's
do
aggressive.
Things. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It takes, like, say, $500–600 per sheep. So the department doesn't have the money to do it, and that's why we started to went to the commission to get the raffle and the auction permits.
Well, I know on behalf of the sportsmen, we really appreciate it. And you know, right now we are going to go back to another tape. We've been talking about water holes, and now we can look at some of the captures, or a capture of what takes place now that you do have water holes and you want to move sheep around and spread this great herd of ours. So let's just go to another tape right now.
I think this tape was filmed in Redfield Canyon, 1982. Those sheep came out of the Trigo Mountains on the Yuma Proving Grounds range.
Okay, let's go to it.
Equally frantic, the helicopter maneuvers the sheep into a position where it can be safely darted. Foremost in the minds of all is the health and safety of the bighorn. Any relocation effort can only be successful if the captured animals are in good condition. Finally darted, the capture crew backs off and lets the immobilizer quietly take effect. From a distance, the Jet Ranger hovers. The crew watches for some indication that the sheep is reacting to the drug. After sufficient time for the sheep to fall prey to the drug, the helicopter sets the capture crew aground. The biologist quickly makes his way up the slope while the Sheep Society assistant gathers the net and waits for the bighorn to be taken in hand. Like a delicate instrument, the precious cargo is loaded into the net. When crew and sheep are secured, the signal is given and the sheep is gently lifted skyward for its journey back to camp. Back at camp, the team of Society and Game Department personnel are alerted by the sound of the helicopter, signaling the arrival of their captured guest. Upon its arrival, the sheep is gently lowered into the hands of the awaiting crew. While part of the team prepare the veterinary equipment, the sheep is placed on a scale to be weighed. The immobilized guest is then placed on a makeshift table where it is examined by the veterinarians. Biological samples are then taken. Blood samples are drawn to further check for diseases and overall health condition.
Put a radio collar on it.
Ear tags are placed for future identification, and even some of the sheep are given radio collars to enable their movement to be monitored by department biologists.
Okay, let's throw her here. Put her up there.
After all of these checks, the sheep is then carried to a modified horse trailer where the immobilant drug is reversed.
Did you pull the magnets off the collar? Yeah, I think we took them all off this morning. Very good.
Rapidly, the sheep gains control of all of its faculties and quietly recovers in the seclusion of the trailer.
Yeah.
Arriving at the release site in total darkness, the bighorns are loaded into a holding pen where they will feel secure with a company of other sheep. Quietly, the local wildlife manager approaches the pen to release the sheep into their new home. Finally convinced that the open gate signals freedom, the bighorn bolt. Once again, the presence of bighorn sheep is felt at Redfield Canyon.
Well, Jim, that was really spectacular to see that many sheep captured down there and all this money being well spent. You know, a lot of the people don't realize really that anyone can join the Sheep Society. And we've got a number up now, and you can start calling and talk to Jim or I or Reed, whatever you'd like to do. But Jim, tell the people, all walks of life join the Sheep Society, don't they?
That's right. We have doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs. We've got just about everybody, and we have a good time on these projects. Anyone interested in joining the society, I would urge you to call 957-0773. That's 957-0773, and ask for Gloria. And just tell her to send you the information that you want to be a member of the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society, and we'd love to have you.
That's great. Well, you know, we've got a phone call already, Reed. We better start taking some of these calls for Jim.
Calls then.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes. Last week, me and my dad went to San Carlos, and we caught the bass off of rubber worms and divers. And do you suggest anything else, like top water or anything?
Anything will work at San Carlos right now, and Reed will cover that a little bit later.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we appreciate you calling.
Bye.
Looks like we got a couple of more calls, and we'll go right to them.
Get into this fishing. We can't break them up.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hi. I was wondering, is it possible, the way the sheep are going and with regulations and everything and good protection, can they be transplanted almost indefinitely so that maybe we would never see it, but maybe in a couple hundred centuries there might be bighorns everywhere in the desert again?
Well, that's what we're hoping for. You know, we're planting sheep back in the historic range right now, and that's all these transplants are either into a historic range where they once were or no longer are, or we're supplementing transplants where they are, but for one reason or other their population is diminished.
So there's no limiting factor except habitat.
That's the biggest problem with all wildlife is limited habitat. Of course, you know, when people build a house somewhere, then you're not going to have a sheep there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, I have a question for Jim. What is the type of area the bighorns like to run in as an altitude type of country? High country?
Well, I think it depends on whether you're talking about desert bighorns, Rocky Mountain bighorns. On our desert bighorns, the ones that are in the southwestern corner of our state, the ones that we're transplanting around now, for the most part, tend to stay in the lower third of the mountain range, and sometime in the year they'll get up in the upper parts. Surely when they're getting hunted and stuff, like any wild animal, will seek the roughest place they can get to.
But generally the desert's really a low elevation, basically, and the Rocky Mountains are more up around Morenci, up in the high blue country.
That's true. The Rocky Mountains would prefer more of a juniper type country, a little more cover in it than the desert sheep.
Yes, and one more question. Do you, when you try to capture these bighorns, you try to go for an even amount of males and females, or just what you can get?
Normally we go 6 ewes to 1 ram. When I spoke about the eagle tail 2 transplants here, those 16 sheep and those 2 releases, 6 were ewes and 2 rams out of each of those. So we try to go to 3 or 4 at least to 1 for the ewes.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling. We got a couple more, about a minute from our news, so we better move right along. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, is that a place for the ram? Is it just for habitat and to keep them from going extinct, or is it for hunting areas?
It's for both. There's no sense in saying we don't want to hunt the sheep. We want to get the sheep back, and of course the only populations you ever hunt, are surplus animals. We never hunt animals that are going to extinction. These animals, we have as many now as California. California doesn't have a hunt, and their sheep aren't doing any better than ours are, so hunting does not appear to hurt them at all.
So, do you know any areas that there is better hunting for bighorns?
Yes, we have quite a few areas, and this probably the best area in the state would be the Kofa Game Range.
And the Aravipa Canyon.
And the Aravipa Canyon for the largest, although they don't have very many permits.
How much, is there a good chance of getting drawn?
Oh, it's a very slim chance of getting drawn. There's only now this year there are only 54 bighorn sheep permits in the state, plus the 2 special permits, 1 raffle, 1 auction.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Well, Jim, real quick, we're going to go to the news. We thank you for being with us. We look forward to seeing you again. And